I don't know. All right. Thank you. Okay, we have with us Mr. Gentry, Criminal Court Clerk. If you would, Mr. Gentry, please introduce your associate, and then if you don't mind answering the question of can you operate within the mayor's proposed budget?
Good afternoon. I'm Howard Gentry, Criminal Court Clerk, and next to me is Alfred DeGraffenreid. Alfred is our Chief Clerk, and this is his first budget hearing. So he's been with us 6 months, and he's doing a great job. And yes, I can operate within the budget that the mayor's proposed.
Thank you, sir. If you would, the floor is yours. I'd like to just go over the overview of your proposed budget or any other comments you might have.
All right. Well, this is our 4th time coming before this committee. And, of course, always feeling like I'm at home in the Metro Council quarters. We have a department of 82 people. Currently, we have 80 employees, very hard-working employees that serve the public well. In 2014, we've handled a lot of docketed events, 280,000 plus. That's about 1,100 files touched daily, and that's not including our public records requests and new filings. We processed over 93,000 warrants and citations. We've generated over 131,000 subpoenas by General Sessions and the Bond Office, and we processed 23,600 expungements. And that is about twice the number processed over the last, in the last 4 years. It has really increased. And that increase really has come from the work of course, our office, but also partnerships that we've had with the Metro Public School System. We do an event called Bringing Justice to You, which is done quarterly. And not only are we there, but Don Diener and the Public Defender's Office, and also Casey Moreland is there. And you all might not understand how that works. We actually pull the records in advance. We know the people who are coming. They are families and parents and families of Metro School children. And we're able to do a lot with them around driver's license issues and expungements. We also partner with Goodwill, churches, job fairs, voters' rights organizations, and other collaborative efforts to do that same thing. And so it has doubled since we took office, and it's a great benefit to our community. Former offenders are better off enabling them to secure jobs and housing. And so we're very happy about that. Our website still continues to service the public well, service our attorneys, our clients, and really the community. We've had over almost 15 million page views on the website, and it's an 11% increase over last year. As it relates to our budget, our revenue projections for 2015 are, of course, 6,793,100, and we're currently at 74, almost 75% of budget. We are on track to meet our budget proposal. Our revenue actuals for the same year are $5,067,295, and that's based off the revenue trends of our department, and we're on track again to meet the budget. The mayor's recommended budget for 2016 is $6,286,900. So basically, that's what I want to report to you again. The employees in our department should be commended. We've had a lot of turnover and changes, retirements, and our new staff has stepped in, our current staff has stepped up, and we've been able to really move forward in a very proactive way. Of course, we're now working with the domestic court, and we have been able to serve that court. Sometimes it challenges us with the number of employees that we have, but it's for a worthy cause, and we're able to be a great partner in that. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll open the floor now for questions from council members. Councilman Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Gentry, for being here. It's nice to see you, and welcome. You'll learn to accept us and understand us.
Thank you. We're just catching our breath, though. We ran over, so we're good. Yeah.
That's okay. I have one question. You've done such a good job with your website and the initiatives surrounding it. And one of the goals that you speak to are web-based initiatives. What do you see for the future with regard to your ability to reach out and expand that initiative and the scope of that website?
Well, it would be great to be able to provide filings over our website. And of course, we're not able to do a lot of the filings yet because it's going to take an entire systemic change to be able to do that. We still use a lot of paper in the criminal court system. So as long as we would have to really be a collaborative effort with all the parties involved. At this point, we have pretty much ramped our website up to not its maximum, but close to its the offerings that we can give based on the system that we work under. And it's not a criticism of the system, it's just the limitations, unless you have any other thoughts and ideas, Alfred.
Sure. This is on. All right, well, we converted the website to .NET, which improved the performance and placed scalable hooks to build future functionality of the website. So while you can't really see a big difference in it, we have upgraded it so for the future when we have the capacity to add to the website, we can do it in a quicker fashion. So we are working on it. We're working with JIS to really just take how we want to make the website and how we want to improve it. We want to give them the ideas, and we want to work together and just push forward our vision for the website.
Have you looked at the system to see how going paperless would reduce cost?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the fact is, we haven't done a study on how to reduce costs, but we already know it will. I mean, it just will. But again, the criminal court office can only go to a certain point, even as it relates to paperless, because we have a larger system, criminal justice system, that is not. So it would be great, and really we had discussions with the mayor a couple of years ago about looking at moving the criminal justice system forward to a paperless system. So with the .NET coming online now, it gives us that capability, and so we are there and able, but it's going to take everybody to do it. So hopefully one day one of us will be before the council or before the mayor first, but then before the council with the possibilities of being budgeted for us to be able to move to a paperless criminal court system.
Sure be a lot safer, too. What about collections? Are you guys having issues with collections, percentage of turnover? How does that work with court costs and fines?
Well, collections is always a challenge. Unfortunately, over the years, and it started prior to me coming, we were forced by budgetary constraints to move collections outside of our house, so to speak. So we do make 3 approaches through mail to collect, and then it moves to our collection agency. And the collection agency is pretty consistent, but the reality is that we have so many clients, so many people that come through our courts that don't have the ability to pay. We just, they're poor, they're indigent, and it creates a real problem. So I think we do the best we can. I tried for a couple years to have our budget increase so that we could do more in-house collections prior to moving outside, but that didn't occur. So we do the best we can. We'd like for it to be different, but it is not. And so our outside collector does pretty good. I mean, probably he's doing the best he can, or they are doing the best they can. And unfortunately, there is a huge gap between what is charged and what is collected within the criminal court system, probably in all the court systems. And we'd love to have a better return, but it's the system and also the people that we're working with, and we do the best we can with that.
One last question. Is there a mechanism for them to pay with credit card or debit card online?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Council Lady Moore.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Gentry, and glad to see you, Mr. DeGraffini. Did I say your name right?
Close.
Okay. I have a comment and a question. I do know that the services that you all bring about when y'all in the community expunging records, that has worked so well. Even some of the constituents who have served have said that program, they really enjoy what you do when it's out in the community. Now, I also get a lot of comments about convicted felons. Is there a time period does that ever go away for them, or it's just stuck?
No
on their
records
record?
ever go away on their own. They have to be expunged, and it has to take an attorney or that person to request it. Convicted felons now with the new law, it really doesn't matter whether it's a convicted felon or a person that's not a felon. If it falls within the allowed charge, then if it falls within the regulations, then anyone can have their record expunged, but it has to meet the requirements and fall within the regulations that have been provided to us by the state.
Okay.
By the
So there's two things. They have to get a lawyer, plus they have to. They don't have to get a lawyer.
They don't have to have a lawyer for
expungement
for expungements.
for convicted felon.
No. For anyone, you don't have to have a lawyer. That's an option.
Okay.
The only people that can file for expungement are that person or a lawyer. Okay. In other words, you can't file, nor I can't file for the person, but an attorney can file for expungement, or the actual person who has the criminal record.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Councilman Tigard.
Thank you, and welcome back, Howard.
Thank you.
On page E24-5, there seem to be in the GSD General Fund 3 major categories of income there: charges, commissions, and fees, state direct, and fines, forfeits, and penalties. Give us a brief description of what the categories are of those 3 and why they are, 2 of them are down and 1 of them is up this year as in the proposed budget.
Well, Councilman, as it relates to the state direct, those are funds that we receive directly from the state, and they're checks that they're already allotted. We just hadn't received them in the mail just yet. So what we normally do is we send an email to the State Department to remind them to send us a check. Also, we reach out to OMB, and they have a mechanism in place that they can help us receive those for the state direct, which is the largest of the amount. But we are in track to receive those funds.
But it seems to be $474,500 less than the year before. Is that just the quirk of?
Yes, it is.
How many cases are?
Well, we just received we just received November's check, which was about $90,000. So we have not received December, January, February, or March, or April. So that would make up through the rest of the fiscal year, all the way through June. Yeah, all the way through June, that would take us up to almost $500,000 to make that.
But we're projected to be $500,000 less in 2016 than we are in 15. 1.8 versus 1.3?
Yeah, well, that's a different question, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
and the
that's
fact
my,
is-
that's my
Yeah,
question.
okay.
Why the $500,000 swing or downward trend in the state side?
Well, the trend in the state side, we did, based off having conversations with the finance director, and we projected based off trends that we've seen in the office. So that's why we projected a little more conservatively this particular time.
Okay.
Coupled with a few other things that happen in the office from day to day, just based off people who come in who can't afford to pay the fees, and there are mechanisms available for them to go through the legal process after those fees are either waived or.
Councilman Tiger, Alfred is in his
Sure.
6 months, but I want to add to that. When he says finance director, we're talking about our in-house finance director.
Okay.
And as we discussed it this year, after looking at the driver's license situation, the law, and not really seeing the level of revenue coming in that we had thought that might happen, and it's been almost 2 years now, and also with the expungements and the fact that we're very aggressive in our collections court and what have you, it was just felt collectively that we should not be as aggressive in our projections for next year as we have been in the past.
Okay, so explain the difference between the charges, commissions, and fees and the fines, forfeits, and penalties. Fines, forfeits, and penalties budgeted for an increase of $161,000. I'm just not familiar with the operations of the office enough to know what the swings of the revenue are in those three categories.
Okay. Fact is, on that one, Mr. Tiger, that was where the adjustments were made to help reduce it by the $500,000. And the truth of the matter is that our finance director is not with us today.
Okay.
And she is not here with the internal figure book.
And Talia is telling me that the help desk in there can help me.
And we can get
explain.
that information to you.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you one more question, and this is not personal. It's one I'm going to ask and have been asking of elected officials.
Yes.
Do your employees, when they come in, check in, swipe a time clock, or hit something that we know they're in the office?
They hit on the computer.
Okay.
And
So there's a mechanism to track attendance.
There's a mechanism.
Okay. Would you support, for any elected officials, a voluntary disclosure statement of days' work for the year to be filed with the clerk annually?
I wouldn't object to it. I don't know that it's needed, but I wouldn't object to it.
Well, I mean, there's just been some scrutiny on different offices, including this body here, of our attendance record and whatnot, and the transparency, trying to make it easier rather than to go pull public records and swipes and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just curious.
I wouldn't object to it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Hager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gentry, as far as the collection process, as I understand, normally you try to collect within 6 months and then you turn it over to a collection agency. Is that correct?
No, we attempt to collect first
Right.
within 30 days.
Okay.
And then we periodically send out notices over a 90-day period.
Okay.
It doesn't go to the collection agency until after 12 months.
12 months?
12 months.
All right, let me ask you this. What does the collections agency charge y'all? Do you know?
Now it's been
Percentage-wise.
changed. There is not a percentage charge. The percentage charge goes straight to the person they're collecting from now.
Okay, so if they owe $2,000 in court costs, are they getting a 30% cut, a 40% cut, or what? Or do you know?
Say that again. I'm sorry. He was trying to explain
Most
something.
collection agencies do it on a percentage. Are they
That's
doing it
correct.
on a 30%, 40%?
It
or
used
do
to
we know?
be, it used to be a 21% charge to us, but there's been a change in that now. So that charge does not come out of our coffers anymore. It is charged to the person who is being collected by the collecting agency.
All right, so if they owe $2,000,
We
they
should
charge
receive
them
$2,000.
25% of that?
21. Well, you know, the truth is, I don't know what they're charging them. Do you? 4%. Did I say 21%?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. Yeah, we're 21%.
And the reason I'm asking that is you indicated earlier that y'all at one time tried to collect in-house, and I'm trying to get a feel of how much of the collection agency is getting for this service versus whether we would be more advantageous in having somebody do that collection.
Well, the problem is that I don't know that, I mean, I guess it could be apples to apples, but the reality is that unless we have a department that is fully staffed that can collect and only collect, then we're not going to be able to do the job that the agency does. If we just have one or two people and they're just trying to collect, they probably will do good to pay their salary.
Okay.
So it's going to take a collection division. So, you know, it's just where we are.
And the last question is, these people that are on probation, of course, when they're on probation, part of their probation is that they've got to pay their court costs and fines. Do we have a mechanism to bring them back to court, or y'all can notify the probation officers that they haven't paid their court costs and fines and bring them back into court before they're off probation?
Well, that record is, of course, within the system. We're only maintaining it, and we provide the information. There's really, within our system, there is no other method of forcing people to pay other than a judge providing an order or driver's license being suspended, and then, of course, persons just wanting to get their driver's license back. But there's no, we can't demand any funds through our office, and we have no legal authority or consequences thereof.
I understand that. I was just thinking about something where you
I know.
could send to the probation officer before they get off of probation that they haven't paid their court costs and fees and bring them back into court, if that's a possibility. I don't know whether it is or not.
It's a possibility, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I would have to have that discussion.
And how effective has the payments been since we've enacted the law to take their driver's license away if they don't
I
pay
don't
their
think
court
it
costs
has.
and fines?
I don't think it has brought anywhere near the revenue that we had hoped that it would bring, and it is helpful, especially with the collection agency as they talk to the individuals and try to get them to pay. But the reality is once they get the debt over to them, that law has already been placed into effect.
Okay.
Or
Thank
the
you.
revocation has.
Right. Thank you.
Councilman Glover?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, I'd like to expand a little bit. I think Councilman Tigert began this, but I want to stay in the vein. If we go to page E24.5 and we look under the program revenue, charges, commission, and fees, in FY16, the budget was $2 million. You actually collected $2.5 million. Then you budgeted this past year $2.3 million. Now you're budgeting $2.1, but obviously you saw a pretty major uptick from what was budgeted in 14 versus what was collected. Yet we see a decline in what you're budgeting. I don't understand that. I regret your finance person's not here, but that really doesn't make sense. If you had a 20 to 25% increase in revenues versus what you had budgeted, I don't understand why you're trending down there. And then because you did trend down drastically in the state direct, I can understand why you would have cut that. But can you help me understand where you had revenue increases, but yet you're showing a decrease in what your budget is?
Not beyond the statement I gave.
Okay, well, I would like to see if we could...
Is that, I'm sorry to interrupt, is that something that the the help desk may be able to, financial help desk may be able to help?
I don't know. Can somebody tell me if they can help me with that?
Hold on, I'm sorry.
We can pull the data and share with you the information that was shared with us regarding the trends.
Okay.
I do know, and the folks can pull it up back there in the back, I do know that actual activities for the current year for some of their specific revenue items were dropping and are anticipated to be lower than the current year budget. So we agreed that some of those revenue projections should drop.
Okay.
But
Then I'll
as-
go back there and I'll
Yeah, but
find out.
they can pull that by line item for you if you need to see that.
Yeah, I would like to see that. Then I want to go a little bit deeper with regards to, one of the questions I'm going to start asking is policies with regards to time off, with regards to vacation time or anything else for that matter. Does policies across the board for all metro departments, do they and John, maybe this is a question for you first before I asked Mr. Gentry. Do most policies across the board with Metro fall in line for time off, for vacations, for how you accrue time off, for all of that stuff?
It does for the general government departments, especially those that are civil service. Elected officials typically are different. I think they have more flexibility in how vacation time is allocated. But in general, government-wide, it's pretty standard.
Okay. Can you just let me know if your department falls within the guidelines? And I'm sure you don't know it right now, but
Well, yeah, I do.
You do. Okay.
The fact is that when I came, we did not have employee manual.
Okay.
We had one sheet of paper. And I called Human Resources. I have a Human Resources background. And I called Human Resources, and they sent a team over, and we worked with them to create an employee manual that pretty much falls in line with civil service. We don't have to do that. And even though we have the manual, we don't have to follow it, but it's the policy within our office to do that. We also sign the purchasing agreement, and we don't have to do that, but we also follow the regulations of the purchasing agreement. So we have placed our office under those guidelines. So our employees follow the same guidelines around vacation, holidays, and sick leave as Metro in all cases. So that's where we are, and that's what we do. We also did not have a salary plan or salary plan. So Metro Human Resources sent a team over and helped with that. And so our employees now are working under a salary plan, and we have salary grades and scales and job descriptions, and their pay is mostly on par and in line with their job. We have some employees who are redlined because they've been there so long, and their salaries have gone beyond that. But in, I would say, 90% of our staff, we are in line with one another.
Okay, and then one final question, Mr. Chair. Let me make sure I heard you correctly. If you have an account that's delinquent, you are basically sending out notices for the first 90 days from your department. Is that correct? Trying to collect the money?
Yeah, we send out a
internally?
notice within the first 30 days.
But for
And
the
then
first
we
90
send-
days is when you're
yeah,
trying to collect it
yeah.
internally.
Yeah, we're actually collecting beyond 90 days. I misstated on that.
Okay, well, that was good.
Yeah,
Because I'm
It
certainly what
asked
I'm...
90 days, and I responded to 90 days, but it's beyond 90 days.
Okay, but it's not turned over to a collection agency until the 12-month marker?
Right,
Okay. And that was, if maybe
Yeah,
you just answered the question, because from 90 days to 12 months,
Yeah, no.
you lose a lot of ground on trying to collect money.
You do. And but the fact is, we're not doing anything personally. It's just a card. I don't want to confuse. It's a card. That's all we're doing is sending a mailing out. We don't have staff that can follow that mailing and make a call and and talk to that person. So that's it.
Okay,
That's all that's happening.
Then I guess the question would be, and I think this is budget related.
Yes.
If you, in fact, turn the delinquent account over at 90 days, I think probably you could get a lower rate from the collection agency on what, and again, I'm just basing it on the business experience
see,
that I have.
But it's not like a bill. It's not delinquent till 12 months.
Okay.
See, they actually have 12 months to
In order
pay
to pay
their
it.
court
Okay.
costs and fees and fines, so they're not delinquent
Okay.
until after that 12 month.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Councilman, I believe Ms. Lomax has an answer to your
Okay.
question earlier.
Yes, my staff just popped me an email and indicated that the decrease in that category has to do with indigency orders.
Okay.
And that at the time when the budget was submitted, there was a reported 34% increase over last year in indigency funding. Does that,
Yeah.
you want to speak to that?
Well,
Mr. Gentry?
we actually said we didn't give you the percentage, but there is an increase in indigency, and that is a concern, but that's a two-edged sword. And that's why there was a lot of discussion, and we allowed better business sense to maybe get ahead of our passion, so to speak, because persons who have their records expunged and who are able to be relieved of a lot of the costs are able to move forward in their life. They're able to get housing. They're able to get jobs that they could not get before. So that's a good thing. The problem is that you don't really know sometimes whether that person could have paid. You try to do the best you can, but you're not the collection agency. You don't have all the resources to be able to determine whether that person actually has the ability. You get their answers, they put it on paper, but you can't chase it. You can't get too deep into it. And with that increase in indigency, there is a concern by our financial people that it will have an effect on our revenue. And so we're being more careful this time. I hope we're wrong. I hope we're able to come in here, with a pile of revenue, and then maybe we'll be feel a lot more confident later on that is not a problem. But we've got a lot of things that are in place right now that have only been in place a couple years. One is the driver's license law. The other is our real aggressive approach to expungements and to the indigency question. So we're just being a little careful this year, and that's just the reality of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Councilman Claiborne?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since Councilman Glover didn't ask his internal service fee question, I'm going to ask one more time and try to get a little more clarity in my mind. Mr. Gentry, you're paying $19,200 more this year for internal service fees. Do you know what that's buying you?
I hate to laugh. That internal service fee, ever since I was on the council, has always been kind of.
It's better now than it used to be, but
Yeah.
still, do you have any
interesting.
idea what that $19,000 is buying you?
I don't.
Ty might be able to help us with that, because
It's all clumped under four different headings. So I'll ask Ms. Lomax.
Yeah.
I noticed, for instance, like in surplus property, all the different departments, it ranges anywhere from $0 to $100 to $300 to $100 and something dollars. So is this all of the surplus property in Metro, and are all the different departments basically bearing the burden of that building sitting there and whatever maintenance is? What does that mean?
Can I refer you to page C5 in your budget book, please?
Okay, I'm 2 pages back. Okay, go ahead.
On this page, there is a description of each internal service fee and how they allocate their billings. So for instance, Metro Surplus Property Auction is they allocate the cost of their operations based on the budget size of the department. You'll see where the percentage is listed.
Right.
And while that's referred to as surplus property auction, that is actually e-bid, which is an enterprise function. So to the extent that departments use e-bid operations, that's that allocation.
Okay, so then, Mr. Gentry, did you sold some stuff that was surplus property this past year? Or you're anticipating doing that? I mean, you're being charged $900 for surplus property sale.
We haven't sold anything that I know of.
Again, that is allocated, the Department of General Services allocates that on budget size, and because every department, how they would explain it to you is every department has equal opportunity to use that service.
But if they don't use it, then they're still paying for a service they don't use. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And the same thing with radios? I mean, if Mr. Gentry doesn't use a radio, he's still paying for the opportunity to use a radio?
No, in the instance of radio billings, they are billing departments if they have radio units in their possession. Okay, so a department would not be receiving a bill for radios if they did not have use of the 800 megahertz radio system.
Okay.
Okay?
So does your department have automobiles?
Yes.
How many do you have?
One.
You have one?
Yes.
Okay, so,
And again, on the vehicles, they have different rates established by General Services based on the type of vehicle.
so you're paying
because the cost of
$4,300 this, in this budget for fuel services, I guess.
that would include, maintenance on the vehicle and fuel and basically just taking care of the vehicle throughout the year.
Okay. Okay, that, that answers the question. Doesn't make a lot of logical sense, but it does answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Claiborne. I just wish there were more of the members in here when this was being explained. Council Lady Blaylock.
Thank you, Chair. So how much is e-bid? I know it's not necessarily for Howard Gentry, but
What
I think that's to Ms.
what is
Lomax.
that?
how much is e-bid? I mean, I know his portion is 900. How much is it to the county?
If you look under, back to the internal service fee page, and if you go to page C2, okay? If you go to the column that says surplus property,
Okay.
the total budget for that function is the $958,000 that you see listed. And then you can see the various funds that are paying for services out of there. You'll see that you've got $686,000 of that is coming from outside accounts. And those are revenue estimates because that is an enterprise type operation. So you can see the spread there. So out of the total $958,000 budget, the general fund is picking up only $220,000 of that at the top of the page.
Okay.
Does that help?
That does. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Gentry, seeing no others in the queue, we want to thank you for your presentation. Thank you for being here.